contact!
How deep can you plunge into the darkness?
Through the dark veil of space, time.
I wish we could have joined you sooner.
This is WarpForge.
Time is short. There is much to be done.
The wait ends now.
We're excited.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Warp Chatter Podcast, the podcast dedicated to talking about the Horus Heresy Legion's digital card game, Horus Heresy Legion's 40,000. Everything super fast, as possible. If I could do the Micro Machines ads from the 1980s, I certainly would. Micro Machines, go faster. Like the guy who did Blur from the Transformers animated series. If you didn't know, he's the guy who did the Micro Machines commercials as well. Super speed talker, awesome guy. I forget the guy's name. I believe his first name is Mike. And if you can understand everything that I just said, then you are in the right place.
You're dating yourself, Scuff.
I know. That's what I do every time.
He does week. Every episode.
If I don't date myself,
every week is a different date.
Who will? I mean, come on.
But that voice actor is older than... Sorry, that voice actor's role is older than I am, and I know it.
Yes.
Also,
classic.
I believe who you're thinking of is John Moschitta Jr.
That could be... That's where I'll probably get the M from, is the Moschitta. Yeah. All right,
True,
ladies and gentlemen, here we are. You didn't know it, but you stepped into a special episode with the Warp Chatter. We've got a podcast dedicated to 2 players, 5 players. That's what it's for. I'm your host, Scuff D. But today, not only are we going to be talking about things 40k, Warhammer 40k, specifically, we're going to be talking about WarpForge, the WarpForge demo, which came out last week. By the time you're hearing this, the demo's over and done. The demo period for players to play was October 3rd through October 10th, and it was a 7-day window for people to kind of get their hands on it, see how it worked, offer feedback, criticisms, joy, speculation, whatever, what have you. Basically, it's been a quiet 3.5 months since the game was announced, and this is kind of EverGuild's way to kind of wet the whistle of the players who have been kind of wondering, what's going on with the game? Why do we have a Discord? Where's the game at? Like, what is it? So we've got stuff. So we're going to be talking all about that. I will clarify really quick. This is probably going to be the first and last episode that I ever do where I'm not talking about Horus Heresy Legions. There will be some Horus Heresy Legions comparisons by far, but I have no personal interest to turn the podcast to WarpForge at this time, if ever. I'll get into that some other time. Like, it's just too much. It's too much energy. Like, one thing for me, Legions is good enough. And at that point, if you start playing WarpForge, you stop playing Legions, and you don't want to listen to podcasts, it's been nice having you. In the meantime, I'm still going to be here. We're going to still be talking about it. We're going to be giving our attention to it. And maybe some things will make it over, maybe some things won't. I don't know. I've had a couple of brewskis, I've had a tasty meal, and I'm ready to discuss. With us discussing today, we've got 2 players. We've got Crab co-host Axel Manning.
Howdy, folks.
Joining us again on the podcast is Lucarionape.
Morning, all.
And for the first time, joining us is SkitzoMole.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello, welcome. So, first things first, before we get started on the diatribe, dialogue, discussion, argument, ranting, raving, plotting of WarpForge, let's do player introductions. Tell us about yourself. Skitzo, we'll start with you.
Gamer tag and most everything I play is just SkitzoMole. Been playing trading card games since I could understand how to play them, but been playing Magic the Gathering seriously since high school, freshman year. And other than that, been picking up various card games on and off. Got into Legions about, in the last year. Didn't get really into it until earlier this year. And mainly play World Leaders casually, and Sons of Horus more competitively.
Okay.
Better, yeah.
All right. Any preferred faction in general, like lore-wise or hobby-wise, anything like that?
Hobby-wise, Dark Angels have been my loyalist faction of choice. Love the aesthetic, especially their Terminators. Deathwing is my jam. Trader-wise, I'd say probably World Eaters have been the one that stuck with me the longest. Even though most people complain they're too simple, it's like, yeah, that's kind of the appeal.
Mm-hmm.
They hit stuff with a chain axe and they're happy.
Kill, maim, burn, blood for the blood god. Like, simple. Dark Angels, complicated enough.
Yeah, yep.
True.
And what do you think about the new 40K spoilers images that they've shared for the new corn stuff?
I'm happy because the Berserker kits are old as shit.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we're finally getting new sculpts. Some people are a little bummed that it's CSM with slightly different iconography. And it's like, they're that's the Berserkers. They have the red armor, but if you take them off their helmets, they're pretty similar to regular Chaos Space Marines. They have corn iconography on them. That's it.
They might have more numbers of 8s written on them. But
that was about it. Like back in the day, it was like, how do you know they're a corn world eater? It's like, well, he's got a chain helmet, and he's got the weird helmet. That's it. Like that's the differential.
Yeah. What you got to do is do the same shit for Space Marines. How can you tell an Ultramarine behind a Blood Angel, the regular Firstborn?
Yeah.
One's red, one's blue.
Exactly.
That's as far as you're going.
That's it.
Super glad that we're getting updated sculpts because, like everyone said, the midget Marines were getting very, very old.
They were getting old once we got Primaris, where it's like this is what they're supposed to look like.
Exactly.
Color one. And you're like, well, my guy's got stubby arms and legs, and he kind of looks like a child compared to a Primaris.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was bad.
So, personally, I probably won't be able to pick up much, but I'm just glad that they're moving that range forward.
That's good. Yeah.
It's nice to see. I was very happy with the range stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point, I mean, like, good luck picking up everything or even half of everything, but at least appreciate it. I think it's all looked good, and the fact that they, like you said, like they updated the kits, which even just the base Berserkers, it's like it's due. It's due at this point, and there still is probably, and Xenos players will probably relate the most, but I mean, there's probably at least a good dozen units that have been at least 10 years old at this point that deserve an update. But
the average Exodate fan.
Yeah, in the meantime, here's Voltan. So, I mean, listen, and I'm not gonna bash squats. I just don't think Voltan looks anything like it deserves to belong in the 40K setting. That's all.
I'll say it now because I'm biased. I really like the squats. But still, it's funny that they got an entire range before people got updated.
I think
that makes me giggle.
I think the Voltan, Leagues of Voltan, looks very clean. They have a clear aesthetic. It just looks like StarCraft and not 40K. That's my beef. Yeah.
I mean,
their default armor.
Stuff about Tau.
They don't look enough dwarfy for me.
You make a really good point. People said that about Tau the minute Tau came out.
Yeah, but you know what? Tau, I got why they were doing Tau. Like, it was like, okay, this is the mech, this is the anime style type thing. And then the lore really backed that up with they were separated completely from, like, the Damocles Gulf, and they've kind of, like, had these jump starts, and they're really new to the entire rest of the universe, where they're literally like, oh, what are these things called Tyranids? What are these orcs? Like, we just fought some of these things. They're just now, like, whereas, like, League of Voltan, like, squats have been around for as long as the Imperium's been around, if not longer. So, it's kind of weird. I don't know.
Yeah, it is odd how they're doing it. I wish they were, because, I mean, the StarCraft Marine, we already have that. They're called the Space Marine.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So they really should have followed a different aesthetic, maybe being a bit more like steampunky, because dwarves and burning coal. Yeah,
I would have dug that. Or if we had a little bit more beard or Troll Slayer inspired appearance, that would have been cool. Like the mohawk and shit.
Yeah, honestly, they're lacking either the classic bearded dwarf or the dwarf slayers from fantasy.
Yeah.
It seems like they wanted to add dwarves, but didn't just want to be old dwarves. So, like, don't worry, guys, it's different. It's different. We promise you. And everyone's we didn't really want promise. It's different. We wanted dwarves.
Yeah, it is different.
They did try.
I mean, true. It is different.
You know the thing, people who liked old squats they like the dwarves wearing leather and riding motorcycles.
I mean, they did try and play the dwarves.
Yeah.
Sorry. And they did, I believe it was the grudge marks or something, which ended up causing an entire different muss about this is just such a stupid rule on how it's implemented. And I think that's part of the reason why some people are really annoyed with them, was that they just smelt like they were an army made to win and to facilitate pay to win at tournaments.
I was going to say, I feel like 10th edition is going to roll around and then they'll be fine. But until then, we're waiting for that, which is sad.
I'm still waiting for my guard codex.
Yeah, and I think that 10th edition is getting announced or something like that is what I read.
Editions are coming too quick.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, I mean...
They're speed running editions, and it's kind of sad.
Like, Warhammer's expensive enough. You don't need to accelerate new editions every freaking 4 years.
There's an exception from, like, the way editions used to roll out was like, listen, it's been a long time. We've got a lot of rules bloat. It's time to clean up some things, and we've got some new armies that have introduced new rules that, like, aren't really streamlined, like flyers and stuff. Like, let's integrate things up. Let's bring things together and tweak the power creep. To the last 3 editions, I would argue, honestly, have just been like, new editions sell new books and new models because people are always going to have to buy the new rulebook and the codexes and all the supplemental codexes. So let's keep that coming. And it's like the new edition is no longer about cleaning up the game. It's about selling. It's about selling the money. That's all it is.
Exactly.
Selling the money. Selling the money?
Selling the money.
Selling the money, baby.
Not show me the money. Sell me the money.
Like, I understand. EverGuild is in the market to sell product and not necessarily build games.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, this is for hobbyists, this is a big, like, why bother if what I'm building and trying to compete with is just going to be outmoded, outdated, or out of balance in 2-3 years anymore.
Hey folks, can I introduce you to Horus Heresy, where we got an edition change after how many years?
That's how you do it. That's the proper way. I think it literally was
sad when the spin-off is doing better.
15 years? I mean, maybe is it 12? It's that long.
It was when HH 1.0's first book came out?
Yeah. Let
me double check.
I feel like it was 2008.
Has it been that long?
I feel like it. I could be
Remember,
wrong.
the series started in 2004.
Yeah, and I believe Angron was the very first Primarch model, which was like, holy shit, Primarchs, oh my god.
All right, book 1, Betrayer, or Betrayal, sorry. It came out, it was written by John French, my homie. Came out in 2012, so 10 years.
There you go.
Good.
There you go. That's how you do it. That's proper.
That 10 years for a new edition, I like that.
Yeah,
and the second edition's good.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. Give them credit. We were talking about new models earlier. The new Heresy models, so good.
Yeah.
Everyone's complaining that they're beakies. Suck it. Beakies are great.
Yeah.
We take on that.
Beakies are
I'll die on this hill.
And lore accurate. I mean, for timing wise, it works. It makes sense.
Yeah. Everyone's like, well, this faction, like, my favorite one was this Legion didn't have beakies. The first book art that had only Death Guard on it, I forget which book that was. Maybe Flight of Eisenhorn. Is it Eisenstein?
Yeah, Flight of the Eisenstein. That is correct.
Eisenstein.
One of them.
Eisenstein.
I don't think it's up. I'm gonna say Eisenstein. Fuck you.
It's a Stein.
If you haven't caught the Young Frankenstein reference, get bent.
One of the previous books has a group of Death Guard just doing Death Guard things, and a couple of them are wearing beaky helmets.
Yeah.
Be right back. I gotta go get bent.
Oh, good.
He's got to go. He's got to go watch some Mel Brooks. Is what he's got to go do.
He's got to go love the beaky. Dr. Strangelover, how I learned to love the beaky.
Oh my!
No, it's lore accurate, and I think it totally makes sense. Like I'm fine with that.
And if you have that big of complaint,
Legions has a beaky Death Guard.
Yeah.
And if you have a problem, just buy a different helmet.
Yeah.
Sell them.
Put a different helmet.
Oh, I gotta spend more money. Oh, I already spent $300 to get 54 models.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
That's crazy. Yeah, no, the box is $300 USD for 54 models. You get 40 beakies, you get 10 Terminators, you get a tank, like the new Spartan Assault tanks, you get a Contemptor, and 2 Praetors. Yeah. One's an axe, one's a sword.
I mean, okay.
It's their best deal that they put out in like years.
And people still went, oh, but they're beakies.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking god!
Yeah.
I bought it. You also get the transfer stickers to make 22 of them Imperial Fist and 20 and you get 20. Yeah. You get half of them Imperial Fist, half of them Sons of Horus,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. But all you do is you buy extra transfers. Yeah. Like I bought Alpha Legion transfers and Alpha Legion paint, and guess what? It's an Alpha Legion army now.
Bam.
Yeah.
It was always an Alpha Legion army.
It was, really though. I could have painted them anything and said it was an Alpha Legion army. People want to be salty for dumbest things. Like they finally gave us a deal that wasn't a scam, and people went, "Yeah, but they're beakies."
Oh,
How much did you say this box was?
You're not
300 USD.
Yeah.
Everybody.
It's like $298 or whatever, but basically $300 USD.
£180 for me.
That's I don't know if that's like good or not because conversions are fucky, but that sounds good to
Pound is
me
worth
for
more than the dollar by about.
I know. Oh, that I know.
Right now? No, 1.05. Sorry.
Yeah, but every like region in Canada's economy is different. So when someone says, "Well, it's less in Canada," it's like, "Yeah, but I get paid less in general." But I'd still think 54 models for that price sounds good to me. That's a lot of models.
Yeah.
I first saw the box in the local shop, and I thought, should I buy that? And then I reminded myself, no, you don't play bloody Horus Heresy.
Well, that's the trick, right? It's like, should I?
360
It's a really good buy, and then you're like, but I don't play it, but I could.
Well, here's the thing. What's great about them? Paint them as a modern day Legion. Just go, yeah, they're just wearing beaky armor.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't play Space Marines.
Oh, that's a
Well, there you go.
Well, then, hey,
There's your problem.
That's the issue.
Yeah,
but now you can.
I don't play the model that is pushed by the company the most.
But now you can, so
There's no reason not to. To give it a try.
But they just released a new trailer for my potential faction. I just I've been on the out, but now that I see the trailer, I might get back in. Oh no, it's going to be terrible.
Which one's that?
They've just released the trailer for these Imperial Guard box set.
Oh, okay.
the new Creed model looks really good. Like his daughter.
Yeah, it's his niece. Or something.
Isn't I could have sworn it was like his granddaughter or some stupid something.
I
like
don't. But it's the it's called Cadia Stands Astra Militarum something stuff.
Cadia stands about that.
Cadia stands.
The planet broke before the guard did, and
but the planet still broke.
I mean,
we won it.
It's still there, some of it.
Here's a hot take, and as an Imperial Guard fan, as an Imperium fan, I respect the idea of Cadia's stance, but here's my problem: the Cadian army regiments are just one of thousands in the Imperial Army Astra Militarum rosters, and the fact that they have consistently become not just the poster boys in the way that the Ultramarines have, but the identifier of like the uniform and everything. And
when Imperial Guard, they think that fucking helmet.
I'm not a fan of the way of the particular style of the Vestroian Firstborn, but I appreciate what they are. The Valhallans, the Talarans, the Catechins. I would love to and I'm not a huge Catechin fan, but I would, because how do they have bigger biceps than Space Marines? But I would love for the Catechins to get their shine again and become the poster boys for a little bit, or better yet, give us some folks that we haven't seen in a while. Give us the Praetorians or the Mordians. Give us something that we haven't seen at all. Give us the what's the hunting hawk or the swooping hawks, the dive hawks. Give us all the ones
something with H.
Yeah, give us
Harkoni
the Harkoni Warhawks. Give us the ones that the Forge World has got exclusive on. If who people would really like, people would sure like the Death Corps Krieg. Like, make those the poster boys. The Krieg. Yeah, but not as core plastic, not as core plastic as the line.
They are plastic.
They are plastic, but they're not the core line. Like, if you're buying Astra Militarum,
you can't buy a full box.
No.
You can buy like their kill team, but you can't buy a box.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, I mean, because the Imperial Guard, the Astra Militarum, whatever you call them, they're so diverse. They're everywhere. Every world, Hive world, Forge world has got a different variation on their background. And the codexes up until the 5th edition were all about, here's what they can do. Here's all the different, like, just inspire. Like, pick a planet, pick a background. That's your regiment. That's your army focus. You can do it conscripts. You can do it tanks. You can do stand and shoot. You can run, and it just really kind of deviated until eventually it's just like, it's all Cadian. I mean, and I liked the Cadian line. I liked when they released it as plastic. I thought it was awesome. The Stormtroopers for the Kaiserkin are probably one of the best and classic metal
I'm about
models.
to say something that's going to upset you, Scuff.
Nah.
90% of Imperial Guard books nowadays go, man, if only we were cool as a Karsakin.
I know. That's cool as
the irony
realistically are. But the Steel Legion from Armageddon Steel Legion's dope as fuck. Like,
The irony that an American's saying this
You want?
Yeah.
No, you want to hear
It takes a moment to
something
get over.
even better? Well, no,
Because whenever we talk about the Second World War, it's quite often it wasn't important until the Americans got there. It's this kind of spotlight effect, and I agree with, for example, what Axel's saying, that a lot of the current media focuses too much on them and tries to do what they did with the Ultramarines and the Space Marines with them. But currently, with the story plot point, and
they're kind of a main character.
They are kind of a main character, and the whole thing is, because the Imperial Guard is the unit is more important than the individual, you can get away much more easily with regimentalization of a story.
Yeah. I mean, all we need to do is get another Ghost model lineup, and I'll be happy. Okay,
That would be cool.
we already have all the main characters that like matter as models, but we could have more. We could have filler characters.
And I get why GW doesn't do it, because ultimately, like back in the day, they did. Back in the day when they were just all metal ranged models, and all they had to do was put out a troop unit and a command unit, and then maybe a couple of like tank pilots or whatever, like as special characters. It was easy enough for them to do, or heavy weapon team. It was easy enough for them to do. Here's a new regiment, here's a new regiment, here's a new regiment. And as a plastic team, you want to have those pieces that work together. Specifically, you want to have a wide range of models, not just a troop unit and a heavy unit and a command unit. You want to have everything that fits into that, whether it's an elites, special units, heavy weapons, special weapons, fast attack, whatever it is. I get that from a point of the modeling perspective, but I think it's still doable given how consistently they pump out the models for all these other armies when they decide that that's a way that they're going to do. And instead, what we get the last several years is, here's a special character for Catechins. Here's a female commander. Here's a male. Here's a update for, like, that's it. It's like, where's the wide range? Like, where's the stuff? Like, what? Give us a new thing that we haven't seen before, or better yet, just give us plastic versions of a metal army that already exists for the people who bought into it 20 years ago. I don't know.
You're asking for a lot there, Scuff.
That's a hot take, man. That's a hot take.
Anyways, WarpForge.
Yes.
Shouldn't I introduce myself first?
You go for it.
Yeah. This all happened as a tangent off of Skitzo's introduction. I love that.
Yeah, that's how we roll here. You know, that's what we do.
It is.
That's what we do.
If we followed a consistent schedule, it just wouldn't be the same.
No, listen, the iTerror Studios is ever forgiving, ever bending, and that's how we like it.
Never making sense.
No.
Literally chaos. Let me call the
chaos. Nah.
So yeah, I guess I should introduce myself.
Bingo.
I'm Lucarionape. I was Lodge Master of Orion until recently. I've been playing HHL, is it 3 years, 4 years now? I don't remember.
A while.
I play mostly the casual practice level if I'm actually in anything. HHL was probably the first actual proper card game where I actually got any experience in it. I played some Yu-Gi-Oh! Before that. I collected Pokemon cards because who didn't? They were available at the fair.
Everyone collected cards as a child. Doesn't matter what you chose.
Basically. Yeah, well, it was the only reward that I could get easily at the local fair. So I'd go up to the shooting game, put my allowance in for the week, and then go, minimum amount of points. What do I want they'll actually keep that won't break, like a lava lamp or something, or that I won't have to save up multiple years for? Oh, I know, some cards. So that was how I got my cards. And then I figured out half of them were fakes or something as well and copycats, but you know the story.
Yeah, the animals selling proxies, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what they do. Them carnies.
Those carnies and their Pokemon proxy ring. Come on, Wizards of the Coast.
Warp Chatter slammed for being against carnival people.
Like, this just in. Breaking news. Warp Chatter against carnies.
I'm pretty sure the staff didn't know, because they were always really happy and really kind. And it's like, okay, so we know that this product is defective or something, which that might have been them covering for a lawsuit, all I know. But the cards were probably just something they got on the cheap. They always seem to have extra. My interest in the fact that in the game...
Pokemon, was it like Pokemon?
No, it was full Pokemon.
Oh, okay.
It was one of those weird things with the back was a little bit off shade.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Buddy went to his printer and just kind of went at it.
Right.
Yeah, but we were also... It was weird because we were opening some packs and we were like, this reverse side print is a bit different from this reverse side print. So either they resealed them or there was something wrong with the printer on some of them and the others were just...
Oh, I know exactly what happened. It was the false prints they couldn't sell, so they sell them for dirt cheap, and they just bought them and then resold them. There's stores everywhere that do that around here. That you can find some gems like that.
Going then to the faction I play in HHL, I am particularly partial towards the Imperial Household factions, so that's the Custodies and the Sisters of Silence. We don't talk about the Agents of Sigilites.
Oh, why not?
Because we don't talk about the Agents of the Sigilites.
Because it's a secret.
Listen, they're going to get a Night Lord soon as a Warlord, and that's going to be hype.
Yeah, great for them. I don't care. I don't play them. Literally, I mostly only play Legion Custodies or Sisters of Silence, though if I'm otherwise playing something else, I generally can be found memeing around with an Injured Heart deck. Just because I like the pain that can be.
Bring back Launch Har. Or not Launch Har, I was thinking Launch Dar. Just bring back old Har combos.
I still run an Oath of Vengeance Endred Har deck, which is just designed around getting bloodthirsty on him.
Luckily, you got Khorne's Favor to exist.
Exactly.
I don't actually have that card.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
That would help.
Yeah, it probably would. But then again, I don't even
obvious
play ladder.
information from Axel J. Manning. That would help.
I am still at 2,000 as ever, if someone's ever heard me introduce myself before. I have not gone up or down since.
Play where you want to play, do what you want to do. That's my message to the folks at home. As long as what you do isn't making the game worse for the other person. If you're going to slow play,
as long as you're not playing Titans, we're fine.
Okay.
I enjoy my Titans, but I just haven't gone out of my way to build up the collection for them. I still only buy, for example, the Terror Crates stuff, so I don't have any Titan cards, really.
Titans don't.
Even though I quite like them. Yeah, no, they don't.
Painfully obvious they don't. Anyways.
Counting it, I've only got 7 Titan cards total.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, wow.
And 2 of them are Warlords for the Loyalist faction. And then I've got 1 Loyalist weapon as well.
Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah. I mean, by the time you'll hear the Thanksgiving is over, so probably 8 very good.
I mean, Canadian Thanksgiving, let's clarify that.
The real one!
I heard that...
What's Thanksgiving again?
Yeah.
We eat a bunch of food.
It's where we ignore the fact that we cause atrocities when people game over
200 million.
Oh yeah, the one where you couldn't feed yourself, so you have to go to the locals and beg them for food.
You gotta
and then genocide them in return.
That's what we do.
Listen,
we call
it was like a passive genocide of 200 million.
North America has
partial active as well.
agreed to it, so that's just
there was some proactive. History lesson from Axel J. Manning. The reason a few of the countries rebelled against Britain was Britain passed a new law that says you can't kill native people to take their land.
Oh yeah, do you know why the Boston Tea Harbor thing happened? Because
tax
actually lowered the tax. Not raised, lowered.
History
At least that's one of the current theories. Hey, I studied. That's what I do.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, send me a DM if anyone wants to listen to the actual story.
I'm going to be fed, and I'll be happy.
Horus Heresy Rules, 40K tabletop editions, Imperial Guard hot takes, Thanksgiving holidays. 30 minutes into it. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we finally get to WarpForge. This is what we're going to be talking about. This is it. This is the hotness. You made it. You endured 31 minutes and 12 seconds counting
of random bullshit
to get to this WarpForge demo. It happened, and I don't know how everybody else felt. We're going to talk about how everybody else felt, what everybody looked at, what they saw, takeaways, enjoyment, how much time you got to play on it. But everybody here has played the demo. Everybody here has got opinions, and we're going to talk about it. Yeah, you better have.
Oh fuck!
I probably only have like an hour in it, so not too much, but I'd still think that's good enough to talk about.
I've got over 2, and that's about it. Under 3. It's been a busy week for me. And just as a quick update, if people have been wondering where the videos have been, I haven't been making videos the last couple weeks. I've been just too busy. I have not had time to upload anything, to do recordings or anything like that. So podcast is what I got time for. And I just had enough time to do a couple hours of the WarpForge demo, enough to play it out. I think I did a stream.
Yes.
I did do a stream, and then I have streamed a few like 30-minute sessions on Discord as well. Just kind of brief and short, but I did do that to get it out there for people to see and for me to see too, and play it with some vibes. So before I get into my stuff, let's go around the Warp Chatter Studio, the iTerror Studios, and get everybody's takes and opinions. We'll start with you, Schizo. Let's start with you.
So overall, my thoughts on WarpForge. I like where it's going, but at the same time feel like I understand it's pre-alpha. It's a pre-alpha demo.
Right. Yep.
But it feels a little flat. Like, they're trying to add new mechanics, new rules, new way of playing, and I like that. Obviously, coming from Legions, you're going to compare it to Legions because that's their first game, and what you've played the most. So, having the range melee mechanic, initially I go, okay, this seems fine. But then on some level, I'm not sure how to like really verbalize it. It just maybe isn't quite fleshed out per se. Because sometimes it seems like it doesn't matter.
Like that troop with 2/2 range and melee, so it just doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right, but that's also a plus. It's a pro and a con. It doesn't matter. So it's a standard vanilla 2/2 for 2 or 2/2 for 3, whatever. But then you have say the Orc Shooter Boy, who's a 1 melee, a 4 ranged with 4 HP. It has one job, and
shooting.
If you just melee it might just do 2 damage and die.
Now, I know this isn't necessarily my turn, but I do want to put this in. I feel like the range and melee feels like it should be locked after they use the ability, where it's like, oh, I shot this turn, so I'm in range stance. If you range attack me, you'll take range damage. If you melee, you'll take melee. Because that's what they feel like they should be.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Where it's like, I'm in range mode, so no matter what, I'm retaliating in range damage, because you're running at me and I'm shooting at you. That's what it feels like it should be, but then you play it and it's like, oh, I'm just going to punch him and then take 1 damage.
Yeah, I think that's what, intuitively I go, this feels off. I think that's it, because otherwise, you just pick the best option for the opponent you're going up against.
Yeah.
There's no real...
There's no choice. It's 2, 1 or the other. There's no like, but I could melee them and get this off. Like, there's a couple abilities like Blast where it's like, oh, I could range them. 9 times out of 10, if you have Blast, your range is your highest stat anyway. So it's like, oh, I could attack them.
Exactly.
There needs to be some trade-off, or even like I'm locked in this stance mode.
Right. And again, it's demo, but the decks, I hope they don't make us play with like constructed set decks. Oh God, please don't.
I'm near certain that's not a feature unless they suddenly decided to do that. That won't happen.
I'm just putting it out there. Don't do that, please, for the love of God. Do not fucking do that. But on that note, the decks are so imbalanced.
Yeah.
You have Ventress on the Space Marine side, who is laughable. Then you have Tigurus.
You say that. The best Space Marine deck is currently a Ventress one. It's not like you're using his ability much. You're just using the burn from it.
I guess. But, I guess I've only had about an hour of playtime, and I've been playing all the decks.
That's fair.
Just to feel. So, fair enough. But it just felt, I guess since I wasn't playing as a burn deck, it just felt lackluster.
Yeah, if you're not running the very specific burn one, it's just like, oh, this is an okay warlord, kind of mediocre. But if you run the burn one, it's like, oh, I have 8 different tactics that just deal damage.
Right. But if you're just trying to play it like a standard like mid-range Space Marine deck, then yeah, it's going to be like, well, this sucks. The Calgar deck, I don't understand why he gets beyond lore. I don't understand why he gets 5 more HP and no like downside.
No transformation card or something.
Yeah. I've heard that's a lot of people saying there's no reckoning, there's no like force to have a card in your hand like in Legions. He gets a pretty good Warlord card. He gets to just draw a card.
He's a Horus of this game.
Yeah, exactly. He's the Horus of this game. And then Tigurus, both his decks fairly solid. The Orcs were so much fun.
They're also the best.
Goff is the best. Is in my opinion one of the best because you can just spit so many troops out with very little effort.
Have you tried the Green Tide deck?
Yes, I enjoy that one.
Yeah. That one's crazy. That's currently the best one.
I just like Goff. Goff's the best because if you get that Mega Knob, you get the Mega Knob out and you just attack a few times. You get the card that reduces cost, and you just spam an army.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's about right.
As it stands, my experience against an AI-controlled version of that army is that there's not enough board control for that kind. No, for everyone to make that kind of deck safe to play against.
Yeah, I really don't like how a deck can just shoot out. I'm filling the entire board with 8 troops, kind of like Muster. But in a demo with no way to counter that, it's kind of like gross. I guess is the best way to put it.
I do like the tide mechanic, though. I do like the Orcs tide mechanic. Very, very flavorful.
Yeah. No, I like it.
mechanically, I feel it's balanced because you have to pay the same cost for each time you play the card. But on the other side, if you reduce troops, you're reducing each time you play that creature, so you're getting value, so much value. So balanced, maybe not. I like where it's going. Ultramarines, I think they're
lacking. Yeah, I like the Codex mechanic working as a perfection, even if the troops already been played.
The Codex mechanic, I agree. It could be since you don't have to do it. Since it's not like perfection, you don't have to play it that turn and that's it. It's any time you meet the requirement, it takes effect.
Yep. So you fill your board up with Codex troops. You play a tactic that triggers Codex, but it also drains all your energy. That's 2 Codexes triggers right there. Boom.
Right. It makes you try to be as energy efficient as possible, but sometimes that's not always the best play. So sometimes it's, do I want to trigger Codex, or do I want to play something that's a little more impactful?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So go ahead.
I think Codex also is really nice on a lore point in that this is the perfect plan. This has used everything up exactly to the best efficiency available. Just like Perfection is for the Third Legion, the Traitor Legion. Codex really works for the Ultramarines. And if we hadn't got the Courage mechanic in HHL, I would be very happy to see Codex in its place as well.
Yeah, it's nice.
I would agree.
I feel like Codex would kind of step on the foot of Perfection too much in HHL.
Yeah,
right? And this is perfect.
That's the thing.
I feel like the main point of this WarpForge demo is to be as flavorful as possible. Like, everything is flavorful. Makari buffs nearby troops, and he has backlash to come back.
Yeah, you can't kill the fucker.
Yeah, just like Makari. His entire gimmick is every time he dies, he reincarnates as a random grot.
Yep.
And then he finds his way back to the front again.
Yeah.
I feel Gazgul's Warlord card is pretty bonkers.
Yeah, the 1/1 to everything. Well, not 1/1, but both attacks going up.
Both melee and range for all your troops for 2 energy.
Yeah. Not
for the turn. Forever.
To be fair, we did just get Merceror into the game, who does the exact same thing.
Yes.
But this is a new game.
Exactly.
I mean, there's some equivalents in HHL. Training Cage, for example, named the Forgotten Card.
Well,
they don't
Merceror is just the same exact thing as Gazcahor.
More or less.
Sorry, the character who straight up named Margaret Thatcher. But that's different. Right?
Yes, let's ignore that.
We can't. It was just coincidence. We named him Magrat Thraka.
Yes. Let's hope they disappear forever.
Oh, that's so funny.
Other than like weird imbalance of the decks, I personally, I'm not sure if I want to see crafting in this game or not, because not in Legions, and that's kind of I can kind of see why, but at the same time, trying to just wait either for the shop to have it or to gamble away whatever coins you have to try and hope to get a specific legendary or something you're missing and get your 10th copy of something else. It just hurts. They need to make money. They need to monetize it somehow. But other games have done this and seem to be doing fine.
My biggest problem with Legions and why it needs crafting is there's too much to collect.
Yeah, there's so many factions.
There's the 18 Loyalist Legions. There's the Custodes, the Sisters.
18 Loyalists.
Did I say Loyalists instead of Space Marines? Yeah. There's the 18 Legion. There's the Knights. There's the new Titan factions, which came in too. There's all the neutrals, and there's a lot of neutrals, and they're each locked to a certain... It becomes so chaotic for a new player to collect, where you look at it and go, where do I start?
You literally have to tell them if they join sometimes. Go and join this. This is the meta right now, or this is the kind of thing you go for, this style of play. Yeah.
And to be honest, the new player grind is rough.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of people get turned off from Legions, is grind is just like, what you're like, why? Why bother if it's going to take me this long to get something to, even put like a basic deck together, it takes a while. And if you want to do ladder, which admittedly has little reward outside of top 50, even then, not a lot.
I have 5 coins.
Yeah.
We haven't seen what the economy system.
We don't know
clarify that for anyone who's looking backwards and has no idea what's in the demo. The demo is literally, what is it?
Pre-made cards.
12. It's 10 pre-made decks.
Yes.
Of Orcs and
Ultramarines
with 2 tutorials.
And by the time you're hearing this, we probably have Blood Angels in the game, because I'm thinking Blood Angels will be on launch.
I'm thinking they're going to have one Space Marine faction, one Orc faction, one Chaos faction, and one Imperial faction.
People have suggested clans before, and like legions and stuff like that, chapters. But the problem with Orc clans is the preview we got is a mixture of them. We got all Ultramarines though, so that's cool.
I think we might get Space Marine chapters because they're distinct.
We probably will get chapters,
but the clans are generally a flavor thing added on top. Whereas the chapters are...
I would say... I would agree, but not depending on the clan. Because, I mean, a Speed Freak is nothing like a Goth. They have no similarity.
No.
Except that they're both green.
Even then, that's debatable depending on the paint.
True, and they're covered in red, so...
But, arguably, you can make a chapter army on the tabletop. You can't always make a full clan army, and if you do, you will accept there are some sign-offs. Much like chapter sign-offs, but they're not as big. If that makes sense, in my opinion.
I feel like we can't really look at tabletop too much for this, because
maybe not. But with how HHL has taken inspiration from the tabletop, it's not perfect. It's inspiration.
Keyword there is italicized with quotation marks around it.
It's size 16 for everything else that's size 8 and stuff like that. HHL allows itself to take the inspiration from, but it doesn't follow it held by the nose. And I think that it's going to be very interesting to see how this demo evolves, because I'm pretty sure they're going to give us another one after this.
Hopefully.
I hope so, at least. Maybe in 3 months when they've taken back all the bloody feet. How much of it will be ignored exactly.
That's something we're going to have to wait to see. Yeah, I don't know what they'll do.
It would be nice to have an alpha demo and then a beta demo.
Yeah, maybe. I know we are getting a full-on beta, though. And when that happens, we'll see. Mind you, modern game devs don't really know the difference between an alpha, beta, and a demo, and they kind of just use the terms interchangeably, so we'll see.
True.
I'll rant about that.
I'd argue the devs do. It's the publishers and not journalists, but the people who get out the news about it. It's done.
I would agree, if not for the fact that 90% of game demos that come out nowadays betas are just demos with a time limit when they're up. Like every modern shooter nowadays is that. My favorite was Titanfall 2's, which came out almost 10 years ago now. Not 10 years ago. 8 years ago now, which was...
10.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Titanfall 2 was like almost 8 years ago, or 9 years ago, the demo, which was a pre-alpha tech test. It was just a beta with no changes, but it was called a pre-alpha tech test. Because they're allowed to name it whatever they want. Axel rants.
It's not confusing or anything.
No. But yeah, we'll have to see in this game. I heard some people suggest, Blood Angels will come with like the Devastation of Ball expansion. Little problem with that. When you guys think, when someone who's not really in the 40k thinks Space Marines, they think Ultramarines, right? The average person, when they think Tyranid, thinks Leviathan. So there's no way we're not getting Hive Leviathan into the game, or Hive Fleet Leviathan. And if we do, then what the hell are they going to do for Devastation of Ball? Just add the Blood Angels?
If they do one, it's going to be favoritism. Someone's going to be annoyed someone.
I'm thinking we're going to get Leviathan on launch, because, I mean, they're the classic white with purple Titan Tyranid. We're going to get Ultramarine, definitely. Maybe others? There's no way in hell we're getting Dark Eldar and what are they called? Exodites? Exodites on launch.
I don't even know if they got any story for the Exodites right now.
There's lore, plenty of lore for Exodites.
Oh yeah, there's lore, but any recent?
Recent? Let's see. The recent Tarzan book, he's fighting Exodites for like half of it.
Did you just say Tarzan book?
Did I say Tarzan? I said Tarzan.
You better clarify yourself, sir.
What, the Infinite and Divine, where 90 half the book?
Trazan.
Not Tarzan.
Trazan.
Not.
I'm gonna keep saying Tarzan, not Trazan.
Tarzan of Greystone.
I know.
Get out. Get out right now.
No, I'm not leaving. That's what I call him.
Get off your
I'm not leaving.
Your translation.
I'm not leaving.
Get out of here.
I'm dying.
I sat for 15 minutes listening to some good discussion, and then you sidelined it with the Tarzan versus Trazan.
Yeah, I'll call you. I know it's not spelt the way I'm pronouncing it, everyone. For anyone who's ever angry at my pronunciation, that is the
worst mispronunciation I have.
Where I move the R around out of spite. I'm now going to keep it this way.
We go from Tarzan to Tarzan.
But when you throw down Tarzan get out.
No, I didn't say Tarzan. I said Tarzan, which is Better
You said
than
Tarzan.
Oh,
You said
Tarzan.
Tarzan.
Come on.
I would
You
die.
clearly were. If you had read the new book, Tarzan, King of the Apes,
I said Tarzan,
I'm pretty sure you said
See,
King of the
Tarzan.
Apes Infinite, and I was like, wait a minute, this guy here?
but no, he
Yes,
fights
Krista, this man over here.
Exodites for a good half of the book because they live on the planet and he really wants their shit. So there,
Isn't that what he
there
always
is
wants?
consequences. Well, yes. Also to pull pranks on people because God, that book's amazing. And visit the opera, I guess. Spoilers?
He's like, I, Tarzan, you, Creed, you, statue,
Mine.
you, toy.
For those who don't know, him and the Infinite, who's Orkin, I think his name is. His name's escaping from the top of my head.
Yeah, I believe it's
They are just the two old Muppet.
Yeah. That
They
sounds about right from what
go to
I
the
was saying.
opera together even. They are just the old Muppets.
They're just the
Anyways.
two old guys.
Every time I hear Creed, I just think of that meme with fucking Zinch sitting playing chess. Creed.
This show
Pretty
is
good.
terrible. You've been watching this? Oh, ho, 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 ho.
That is Orkin and Craven.
There you go. Hey, hey, ha, ha, ha.
Tarzan.
Tarzan?
So yeah, no, I'm thinking on launch for Eldar we'll get the Ashurani, the Craft World Eldar only, because
Yeah.
they're the ones everyone knows. Dark Eldar
You don't think
bands.
Beltan or Ulthway?
Well, no, that's Craft Worlds of Ashurani.
Oh, okay.
The Ashurani is, for those who didn't know, there is actually a term for Craft World Eldar in the lore. They
Basically,
just
it's a
never
species
use it.
tag.
They never use it in anything except the tabletop for species tag. Yeah, I'm thinking that's what we're gonna get on launch. What kind? We'll probably have a weird mixture of Craft Worlds because let's be real here, that's what they like to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And then for Chaos,
the best way to do Eldar. Like honestly,
truly, you don't want. Well, this is Ulthway. This is it. No, divide it into 3 subcategories and just go crazy with it.
Yeah.
For Chaos, let's be real here. We're getting Black Legion.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
going to be psychos. We're going to get psychic energy again.
Well, there's a lot of psychers nowadays, so we'll see. Like at 40k, you can say most factions have some sort of it. The orcs don't have Wa energy, which makes me sad.
Fair.
Yet.
Tyranids are definitely going to get Leviathan on launch because
That's
Now,
that's what you think of.
That's a question. Are we going to get all these factions on launch? Or are we going to do the HHL
we
thing?
fucking better.
I know for a fact the only faction we're not getting on launch is Tau.
Yeah, okay.
At least that's what's being said really early into the game's like reveal. If that's true at the end of the day, we'll have to see. Hopefully we get Tau on launch. And then Tau. What sect of Tau are we going to get? The
Tau.
beige ones. Yeah, Tau.
Yeah,
not
the
Tau.
beige
and
ones.
Tau.
yeah,
Tau
it's
sector,
funny.
Tau.
Yeah, we're going to get the beige ones everyone knows and love.
We're not getting the Farsight enclaves? What?
We're on launch? Probably not.
To be fair, they make sense for an expansion.
They do.
Yes.
They do.
Oh, they 100% do. And then Necrons. There's not real differences between the dynasties except color.
Basically.
Yeah.
Or who owns what. But at
Yeah.
that point, it's 1 or 2 warlords.
Yeah, it's
And
really
yeah.
just
you
a
can
bunch
just
of
swap the
warriors.
warlords there.
That's it. Like,
Yeah.
Necrons are
Which
Necrons.
is... Yeah, Necrons are Necrons. I mean, 40k nowadays has been giving them more personality, but they still haven't went, oh, well, this dynasty only used pariahs. I know pariahs don't exist anymore. Don't yell at me. Bring them back, please. But
Totes bring him back, yeah.
Why?
But it's like,
why
So
did they
it's
get
bring 'em
pariah?
back.
what do you mean, why?
Like, why did they retcon out pariahs?
Because they were
Necron
humans.
No, Necron pariahs have been canon for exactly one moment. It was in Dawn of War, and then one rule book, I'm pretty sure, and then it just disappeared.
Their first edition codex, were not first edition,
Yep.
but the codex that they first released in, they had a rule that was the phase out rule. And it was basically a way of your army composition, as long as your army was comprised of certain units, which was the majority of their army selection. When you lost, I believe it was 50% of that,
50% lost
50%,
again.
your army disappeared. It phased out. It went away. Pariahs were a unit. They were a strong elite choice that did not count towards that. So basically, by you even taking a unit of pariahs, your 50% became like 60% or 70% because it's 50% of your army total. So now one unit of pariahs doesn't count towards your 2,000 points. So you've now got 200 points in that. So now you still have 1,000 points of your 50%, and that's in everything else. So it was much more of like a tied to that. And as a result of that, nobody fielded them or played them, even though like lore, like stat wise, game wise, they were fairly strong. They were fairly good, aggressive elite units, and that was it. There was no extra lore to them other than the fact that these were units that were not fully integrated into the standard automation protocols of the Necron. So they actually had they had their own sentience as a result of that.
Right.
When they rebranded the Necrons back in with the second codex that they got, they just simply got rid of that completely. They made immortals. They made the death marks. They made they expanded a bunch on like flyers and the canaptic spiders and scarabs, and the pariahs were gone. And they were just like that. They don't exist anymore. They incorporated them into the different bodyguard units arrived, and they just simply got rid of the very notion that there was any unit that had sentience or had a shred of personality, soul, or flesh aside from the heads of the dynasties.
And the only way you can see them nowadays is Dawn of War 1.
Yeah. So that's a little bit of backdrop for you.
Well, shit.
Am I right in saying the pariahs were also heavily hinted to be humans with the pariah gene?
It wasn't hinted at all. It was directly said.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. They were just. I wasn't quite
sure.
They were human turned Necrons,
which is really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Which was cool, but they were the only example of that. And people went, "Wait, you can turn humans into Necrons," and then Games Workshop went, "Whoa! You're asking too many questions."
Like,
anyways, what's a pariah?
Yeah, they're like, we want to do something different. Let's just forget we said that.
You know what? Never mind.
Couple of positive things before I get to the negative things. I really like the art. So, for example, I know some of this is probably ripped from official art, but a lot of them look like models painted. Yeah, but for example, Point Blank Shot, the deal 2 damage draw a card Ultramarine card. I'm pretty sure I've seen that on the cover of a White Dwarf.
To be fair, let's look at Legions. How many of them are book covers?
Yeah, but that's it. They're really good. They're not bad at all. They fit.
Yeah.
But they've managed to make some interesting cards. They've managed to also really puzzle me because some of the words which before I would associate, for example, with Frontline, they've got Vanguard now. And it's all a little bit weird in my head, but makes sense. I like the fact they have got a ranged and melee change, but I think there is some underlying problems with it as well. So, for example, I don't think the vehicles should have such a high melee attack compared to their range attack all the time. There is, for me at least, and this was a problem I had with the Horus Heresy vehicles as well. The fact is, in the game, on the tabletop, for example, a shooting vehicle isn't very likely to hit, or something like that, in melee. It might be strong when it does hit, but that should be reflected here, and that kind of design should be reflected.
I'll agree to an extent, but I really do like the idea of just being able to run people over with a truck, because I'm going to be real with you.
Some vehicles do fit properly and completely. They do make that work. So, for example, the Orc vehicle, the mech vehicle, they deserve to have that. But I don't think, for example, that I'm trying to find the tank, the Repulsor Executioner.
I'll argue being hit by any vehicle would hurt.
I like the fact that Repulsor Executioner is a melee hit of 5 and a shooting hit of 10. It is a floating hover tank with a bunch of guns. You want to be shooting, and playing into that is what makes the vehicle strong. Having a counter in melee, so you normally target the vehicle, and, well, either you'd be shooting it outside of high AP weapons, or you're targeting it in close and getting it down that way. It just doesn't hit back that hard in the tabletop. Again, this is a case of the game should be taking cues, but not being led by the nose from the tabletop. That's my personal opinion. Repulsor Executioner's got the good balance. It's got 5 melee attack, 10 range damage. And then I'm trying to find the other tank, which I saw which I didn't like.
Real quick, I did think of something. This is coming from, like, a audio-visual, but as, like, it's a nitpick, I think. But it's a nitpick I feel like would be a nice quality of life. Being able to separately adjust whether you want to have the voice lines on or off.
Yeah, I know. Having your... Yeah, it's weird. The sound effects kind of double.
As someone with a bunch of, like, auditory sensory issues, it can just get a little overwhelming at times. Even though I still want to listen to, like, the sound effects and music, those can be adjusted, but that is not an option within the game at the moment. And it would just feel nice to have that, VO on or off.
Yeah. But what should be good is they should separate the sliders. Like, to me, sound effect doesn't include characters talking. In most games, that's not how that works.
Yes.
I remember discussing on Discord with someone about this, and them saying, yeah, we would really like to turn off this kind of audio cues and stuff like that, and visual cues that come with it, because it's going to slow down the ranked metagame players and the high ladder players, because they're going to want to try and get through as quickly as possible. Because it's a game where the shorter your games are, even if you lose, the more likely you are to win on the long run.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like card meta is always fun.
Yeah, but for example, giving the people the option under a certain rank on the ladder to have that off themselves, or enforcing it so if one person has it off, both people have it off, that might work, in my opinion. But then again, I don't know coding.
I mean, it could be coded, but I feel like that would be way too complicated of a fix instead of just keeping it one way, like people being able to turn off animations on one side but not the other.
The problem is that might lead to desyncs.
To be fair, breathing too heavy while playing HHL causes desyncs. So,
yeah, but if we're talking about that already finicky system, adding another layer of complexity to the coding problems isn't really suggested. So I get that some people will want, but I would really like the flavor of the game.
No,
but all you got to do is what we suggested, a different slider. Like, all right, my voice lines are now turned off. Yeah, I see the text, but I can't hear you.
Exactly.
Yeah, but there's no coding involved.
I'm talking now about the time constraint, not so much the volume.
True, but I mean, like, to outright turn them off is already a feature in Legions, but it wouldn't affect time at all if I can just turn the slider. They'll still play whenever they hit them. It's just, or when at the start of the match, I'm not hearing them. I already play the game silently, so nothing's changed for me.
I appreciate the flavor the voice lines do give.
Yeah, they're good.
Sometimes, I personally just don't want to hear it. It distracts me or just messes with my head. Or I will hear them 1,000 times and go, I don't want to listen to this.
I don't want to hear Branson's default voice anymore. Goodbye.
Right.
For me, I listen to my own stuff while I play games. It's like, all right, I have my own soundtrack. I don't want to listen to random characters going for the next 3 hours, so I'm just going to play my game.
I'm going to enjoy Mercer Roar.
Mercer Roar is one of the best. It's so bad.
But yeah, that's, like I said, it's probably a nitpick, but it's just a nice quality of life for folks.
No, I'll completely stand with that. Complain to Mr. EverGuild tonight. Why can't we separate special sound effects with voice effects?
Actually, checking through it, they might have made some changes to the stat lines already.
Oh.
That or I've just complete. I will admit I've had a bad week, so my ability to keep up what's been changed and what hasn't, and it's probably actually they've just put a bunch of stability changes and I'm remembering something wrong. Or just can't find it in the decks, because of course we have no card collection right now. We've just got the decks. We've got to scroll through and find things.
I think the only change that's happened so far was adding fixing a Mac bug and adding friend challenges.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys?
Then there's definitely something I've lost.
This is a late question to the party, but did any of you guys were you able to make the Q&A?
No, but it ended early.
I didn't even get a chance to make it. I saw the announcement, I think about a half hour after it was supposed to start, and I was in the middle. Like I said, I just have been too busy, so I didn't even get a chance to see it. But then I looked to see if there was any notes or follow-up discussion of people saying, oh yeah, they said this. Like, I saw nothing.
There was none. I didn't even know it happened until I saw a notification. Okay. I was like, oh, it should still be on. And then someone's like, oh, it ended an hour earlier than they said. I was like, what?
So is it just because there was a low turnout, or do we not know anything about that? Has anybody attended?
I don't know, but I've also learned that moderators can now speak in that channel. Oh. So next time I see it loaded with 8 people, I'm going to scare the shit out of some random.
There you go. Yeah, for this, and we're an hour and 10 minutes in, but
I'm joking. EverGuild, please don't hurt me.
There was, as of October 7th, at, I believe it was 5 p.m. Intergalactic time, global time, there was a Q&A with the devs specifically, and I believe they were doing a stream. I don't know what platform. I don't know if it was Steam or if it was Twitch or whatever.
They were likely using the Dev QA channel.
Now, I would imagine that would be the easiest one, than just kind of streaming some video. But again, I don't know what was asked. I don't know what was said. I don't know if it just shut off early because nobody knew and got on because of the timing. It was announced from what I
announced
understand.
like a day before.
Well, people knew about it, but the date and time specifically, I don't think were announced until the day of. And it was like, at least what I saw.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
No, you
Like, I'll respect EverGuild on a bit, and now I know a couple of their workers, and I've spoken to them, and they're good people. But you got to pick it up, man. Like, if you're doing a QA, say, at this time, this day, you got to set it up in advance, or people won't show.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I mean, so if you know this, you're a DM. If you just told your players Saturday and not when, how big would your turnout be?
I mean, exactly the same thing when we're scheduling episodes with the podcast, man. I follow up with people the week before.
Yeah, you give us a week before.
The day of, and 2 hours.
The day before,
down, man.
For the people at home, the day before, Scuff will give us 36 hours before episodes.
I will count down. I'll be 33.5 hours. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, he's not joking. There's decimal points in that bitch sometimes.
That's it. I want to be specific,
Being fully honest, that's the thing that allowed me to turn up today, because I had to actually spend 5-10 minutes figuring out the time conversions.
Oh, I don't even. I don't do time zones anymore.
Yeah.
I just go, what's Scuff time? I'm 2 hours ahead of Scuff time.
That's
Bingo.
it. Figure it out and go from there. But yeah, no, I mean, it really is, especially when you're scheduling something that you need attendance, or you want attendance, or you want to get a certain amount of notice, feedback, whatever, like having that scheduled and announced and available ahead of time for people to spread the word or be aware and mark it on the calendar. It's a big thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, for me, and I know we're rolling into the hour and 10 minute mark here, 12-minute mark, whatever.
Already? Wow.
Yay, listen, we go hard, we go fast, and we go all over the place. It's kind of like it's like a
hold up.
Oh,
we go to sleep.
Just trying to be a gentleman. I'm just trying to be a gentleman. Listen.
That's a lie.
So here's my thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts on the demo.
I'm ready for him.
I am not going to talk balance, because I don't give a fuck about balance in a demo. And I want to make that clear. I think people who are talking about balance...
this orc deck's the best.
You miss the point. Exactly. Like, which orc... you miss the point of the demo. You miss the point of the concept of the game. The demo was to get your hands on the gameplay, the experience, the mechanics, the idea, the very notion of it. It's not about balance. Balance will happen not just in beta. Balance will happen continuously through the life of the game, especially at beta, but well before that. Like, balance is the least of your concerns. What you should really be looking at is, how does this game function? What does this game give me? What does this game give me that I didn't have before? What does this game not give me? That's what I looked at when I played the game. And I liked visually, and I don't think anybody complained about visual and audio.
It's so good looking.
Out the great.
The minute I picked up a card and I saw it 3D,
3D, it's moving. We've got the theme. You hear the music was right, the audio was right, the voice acting was right, the sound effects were good. I loved rockets flying all over the place. I love the wall.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
usually one of my favorite sound effects.
Yeah,
not even as good sound effects. The animation is beautiful. When I saw him play it and fly up behind him and then hit me, I was like, "This is perfect." Yeah, I love this.
I like the idea of like the sound, the bolters. Like, I know people are like, it's a little muted. Like, you can adjust volume, you can adjust tone and tempo, but I mean, everything hit right with regards to, like, if I were to be like, that's a 40K game. That looks like a 40K game. It feels like a 40K game. It sounds like a 40K game. And it looks like a 40K game of 2022, not 2010. That's what I want to see. And I mean, I'm not slamming Legion's. Legion's artwork is not stale. It's stagnant. I mean, it doesn't move. I mean,
we got some John Blanche in there. That's good art.
We got Blanche. It's a very select pool that they're drawing their art from, but also premium card backs are about the only animated thing that you're getting in the game. Whereas this game out the gate was like, here's card backs, here's art that moves, here's menus that move. Like, I mean, like, it's making a little bit more fun and visual, and I think it captured that out the park. Cool, great, awesome. And that's where it stopped for me, because what I saw at that point was, visually it was dressed up, and everything else after the fact was not dressed or focused on enough. You guys talked about it a little bit with regards to ranged and melee. I think that idea the idea of ranged and melee is not only integral to 40k, it's a very cool concept. It makes sense, right? Because 40k is half of that. There's shooting, there's range. Some units excel at it better than others in one way or the other, and there's very different tactics that can be employed as a result of it. The execution of those stats was where, and I'm not just talking like balance stats, like in terms of the gameplay, it really becomes down to all it does as it plays currently in the demo is it changes what your optimization looks like. You still have a 2-2. The difference is you get to choose which 2 you're using. Are you using the 3 or are you using the 2? Does it really matter if that's your choice? Because guess what? You're still going to get hit back by a 3 or a 2 on the other side, or a 4 or a 1, whichever the opposite that you choose. And why wouldn't you choose the one that's more optimal for you every single time? There's no, make a choice or you have to choose the opposite. Blinded, I think is the one. Blind does nothing on the offensive. Well, so what's the point if I blind you and I shoot you and you shoot me back because you still have that feature? But then on your turn, not only do you can't shoot me, but you can still charge me. So what did blind really do? The same thing goes for the opposite for the melee, which I believe was pinned.
Yeah, I feel like what needs to be done is pinned and blind remove retaliation
altogether. You need to make those things more important. You need to make the numbers and the choice between ranged and melee more important, and not just on, like, I think you offered a good point in terms of if you denote that this unit is shooting this turn, that's its offensive stat.
Shooting.
The problem is with that is that's typically going to be its already optimal attack stat. True. Right? So why would that matter unless your opponent has a way to reduce your attack stat or pin you or blind you or whatever the case may be, in which case then that is going to hurt you. On the other hand, it doesn't matter if we just move stats around or number. If we've got a unit that's got a 7 melee and a 5 shooting, why does it have a 5 shooting? Like the differential between the two, like, okay, I'm still taking 5. Like, so I choose to take 2 less because I'm shooting it. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's not clean enough. Like, there are some things in, and not to fully lead by the nose on the tabletop side, but if I charge a tank, not a dreadnought, in the tabletop, the best thing that tank can do is on the opponent's turn is to move out of the melee combat if it doesn't get stunned or destroyed by a crag or frag grenade, and then maybe have its sponson weapons shoot at me. It doesn't have any sort of defensive capabilities whatsoever, so why are we giving a weapon, a tank that is more in line for range, a melee defensive weapon? Now, a dreadnought I could absolutely make sense because that's its purpose. So you've got a tank, or let's say a predator, right? A predator, I forget what the floating one is now for the Primaris Marines, but you've got, let's say that's got repulsor. It's 9/7. Okay, why does it have a 7 melee? Why doesn't it have a 2, like, or a 1 or a 0? Like, make those things more. So if I'm going to charge it, I'm at a benefit for it. And you know that the value, the optimal stat, is the range stat. That's the one that I don't want to shoot at. And then that gives you a better way to build your deck, build around a mechanic, enhance the mechanic, and make those choices matter. Because what the demo showed me was your choices don't matter. Your choices on your turn really just like, okay, I get to do 1 extra damage, but it doesn't matter because my opponent gets to choose the optimal choice on their turn too. There's no non-optimal choice. The choices don't really matter. What we did is we just changed what our attacking looks like in Legions. We just changed what it looks like. The same thing absolutely goes through with those talents. I think the idea of a talent is a very cool thing. I think the idea of having units that can still act and then they generate an option, a tactic that lets you do something.
Cool. It's real cool.
Very cool. The obvious problem, and I think it took everybody about an hour, was to figure out, like, holy shit, this clogs my hand. Oh, wow, these clog my hand really fast. Imagine if you have a Titan, and you've got 5 talents that generate on turn 1, and then turn 2, and if you're not playing and activating and using weapons, what are you doing? You can't play troops now because your talents are all, like, primed to fire every single turn. It's a bad execution of a good idea. But really, ultimately, all it is changing what activated abilities look like. It doesn't do anything different. except allow for your Loken instead of paying 2 to deal 2. Your Loken can pay 2 to deal 2, and he can face strike for 2. That's it. So all we've done is increase the tempo and speed of the game, but we've changed what activated abilities look like, which makes the game move faster. I think if you were to improve those, if we were to keep the concept the same, and simply instead of having talents generate to your hand, if we had them generate under a card option, or have a side deck of talent options available. And I know that's a lot. People might think that's a lot. Maybe that's a lot for mobile, but for a PC game, that's absolutely not a lot to do. But if you had that option, then you could make it more manageable and still have the same function. But if you just had, like, if I clicked on, my Uriel Ventress and his talent kind of floated off to the side in the same way that, like a bonus card or a enchantment or something like that would show up, and then I can click on that to activate the talent and then still use his ability, then that gives you the option. I think that would be something that would keep the idea the same, keep the breadth the same, but it doesn't change the fact that the game is going to move faster with this. So if the game's moving faster and everybody gets optimal choices all the time, and mechanics aren't fleshed out enough, and the game itself doesn't have enough emphasis on this game has more choices, and these choices matter more because we've integrated a third stat now, and with that third stat becomes an entire third method of play. All they've really done is introduce a third stat, but everything that you play actually plays even more simpler than you could possibly imagine. That's really what happens. Now, I know that might seem like a lot, that might seem like me talking, but I spent a lot of time thinking about it after I played it and feeling like what I felt, and I didn't feel like it mattered. I felt like, I said it, I think on one of the streams, like, you get a big body down. He's got big numbers all over the place. It doesn't matter. Like, it's a big body. Vanguard doesn't matter because, well, what's the point of Vanguard? I can still shoot. Everything can still shoot around the Vanguard. Vanguard is a worse form of frontline.
I think I know a solution, but this would involve reworking the system. A tag that just says, in melee, I've meleeed you. You can't shoot, I'm stabbing you.
Something.
Let me lock bodies together.
What I think, I think that ties into the idea of, like, designating that this troop is set to a certain function. I also think maybe, and this is not nitpicking, but I mean, in terms of the game itself, as far as how it plays, I saw a few people mention this, and I saw it too. Selecting ranged and fire, ranged and melee for each unit is cool, but it's problematic because it's going to draw out your time. It's potentially going to lead to some misclicks, and I feel like there's a better way to make that choice matter more, and maybe just tie it to your commander or the first unit that attacks. So if I go ranged with my commander, everything for the rest, all my other units are all locked to shooting. Whether or not that's their optimal stat, that's what they're locked to. I've made the choice. It's a one-click situation. It makes it smoother, but at the same time, it makes that choice matter more. Like, do I really want to go ranged? Like, look at all my other units. What are their optimal stats? You know what? I'm going to go melee. Maybe my warlord isn't going to attack, but he's made that selection. So now when everybody else does attack or defends, depending on how they rework that, then that changes it up. And that would shift the choice of the game. It would make that choice matter a lot more. And what I want to see from the game, from WarpForge in general, and I gave my feedback and thoughts to EverGuild, like, I have Legions. We have Legions. We've played Legions for 4 years. We know how that game operates. I understand that they are utilizing a lot of the similarities, and they're kind of building upon it. Instead of 6 troops on the board now, we get 8. We still have 10 energy. Yeah. We still have 10 cards in hand. We have warlords now that still have the same health. But yeah, where's the Whispers and Reckonings? Like, they can add that stuff later on. But it concerned me when several elements that EverGuild had 4 years to learn from were not included and shown in the demo that, yeah, we learned that this is a better way to do it. Where was counterattacks? Where was initiative? Where were two very integral things in terms of how the game plays, something that they learn and that have implemented and kind of built a strategy. The fact that they were lacking completely, and it wasn't like they were lacking because there was something new. This is the same turn-based thing. This is the same who goes first. Like, the fact that that wasn't there raises a flag for me, and I hope that that's fixed by beta. There are those elements where
Initiative.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't build, or they didn't say, hey, you know what? Not only do we give you initiative, but now we give initiative values 1 through 5 instead of 3. Instead of low, medium, and high, let's do 1 through 5. Which technically we actually have 1 through 5 because we
Very
do have
high, very low,
very high and very low.
low.
Or we could go 1 through 10. Let's make it even more crazy, right? Let's make it really interesting, because we could go the whole but they didn't do that at all. They didn't do initiative at all. We didn't get counterattack at all. We didn't see the shop, so we can't comment on what the economy is going to look like. We can't comment on any sort of deck building. We can't comment on the community element. That will come in beta. And I'm curious to see how that's going to look like. I'm curious to see if we end up getting the same modes that we have in the game, and that's it. Oh, we have campaign, we have ladder, we have event, we have practice. If you're not giving me new things, then this is a reskin. As much as you might not want to say it, there are new mechanics. There's no reason to say that variations of those mechanics either don't already exist in Legions or couldn't exist in Legions. What I would like to have seen in a demo of the game, at the very least, was we learned these things from Legions, we've refined these things, and we've given you more things that you'll never get in Legions. And not just talking mechanics. The visuals, like I said, visuals were great. Like, you won't get those visuals. We do have good visuals in Legions when you get like special cards. That's cool. But like the emote, the voice lines and all that stuff, like that's just really good. Thumbs up there. But that was it. Like, where's the, how about, and we've got an animated tabletop, right? We've got an animated battleground. Why don't we have an element that incorporates battleground into your gameplay? All right, you're playing on a death world, or if something happens, there's an explosion or a drop pod line that affects the gameplay, the state of the game board, instead of just your troops. Why don't we have standard bearers? Now you've got a tactic that is attached to your warlord that generates a constant value. And I know this might be asking a lot from a demo, but these are concepts that I would have liked to have seen built upon and expanded upon that we'll never get in Legions, that we should be able to see in a game that was built 4 years later to build upon the shoulders of Legions. Instead, what I feel like we got the shoulders of Legions, and instead of building upon and staying above on the shoulders of Legions, 2 feet, 10 feet high, you put some 1980s shoulder pads on your Legions player and you went to work at the office. That might be a crazy reference, but visualize it and think about it. There's a big difference. I don't see that. I don't see the staying upon the shoulders, and I really want to. I want to see something that is give me a new mode. Give me give me something where, like, instead of just the warlord choices, give me some warlord choices where I can choose the ability. And like, what does that cost? Like, do I get +3 health if I choose this ability at the start of the game? Like, I can customize my warlord. Ties into the tabletop thing. Maybe you don't want to give that to me, but maybe you want to give me something like new, like just, I don't feel like I got enough new outside of visual that I felt comfortable in being like, this is going to be bigger. I felt like this is going to look great, cool, but I felt like everything about the game itself, the gameplay, the choices, the game design, those concepts, there's no graveyard. We still don't have a graveyard. And when you play card games, if you played Magic, just pick one card game, Exile, Graveyard, like those are 2 zones that are completely new zones that open up entire combos and play experiences that you can play with and work with. We don't have those. We don't have those in Legions, and apparently it wasn't even considered to have in WarpForge. And that concerns me, because I feel like what they should have started at the table wasn't like, okay, let's take Legions. Now, how do we put 40k into Legions? I feel like what they should have said is like, let's take Legions. What don't we have that we'd like to get in there? Let's build that. How do we make that work? And I don't feel like we got that. I know that's a long rant. I know I've been talking nonstop for the last 15, 17 minutes. But I've been holding all this in for about a week and a half. And I've sent my notes to EverGuild. I've talked with a few other players, and those are my venting thoughts. And there's probably 4 or 5 other things that I haven't really touched on. But that's my constructive criticism. And it might sound a lot more like just criticism. It's not. I really want to see them offer those things. I gave them that feedback, not in the hopes of dogging them and making them feel bad about themselves, but in terms of like, this is, as a customer, as somebody who played Legions for 4 years, this is what I'm looking at. If you're going to offer me a new game, you're going to offer me not Legions 2.0, you're going to offer me 40K WarpForge. What's the difference? Why do I want to play WarpForge more than I want to play Legions? And what I'm seeing now is the only reason I would play WarpForge is because I get to play Xenos and it looks prettier. And I don't want that to be the reason. I want to be like, man, there's like 4 or 5 other play styles that I don't get to play in Legions. I'm really excited about. There's some cool concepts. Oh man, they've got like just things that I'll never get in Legions, period. Like whether it's a game mode, whether it's factions, whether it's, extra card concepts. I don't know. Like that's just me. And again, I'm not talking about balance. I'm not talking about stats other than the fact that I don't think they matter the way they are currently. I don't think the game itself and the core mechanics that all integrate in range and shooting make those stats matter. I'm talking about what I got from the play feel. And other than that, I liked it.
Other than this, I thought it was good.
Scott has opinions.
Listen, I wanted to end on a positive note. It's constructive criticism. I really want to see it pull off.
No, it's 100% is.
Yeah.
So this might be a little tone deaf, but at the same time, it's an honest question. Like, I can understand, and I generally agree, or at least understand your points, coming from what you want to see. You want to see more in this game. You don't want a 40K Legions.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, honestly, what would be, what would be bad about having a 40K Legions per se? What if that is what draws people into the game that were put off by Legions because I don't care about Space Marines, but wait, I can play as Necrons, Tau, Tyranids, Xenos now. I can play as a faction I like, that I play, that I relate to, or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for us Legion players, we want to see more. We want to see something we haven't been playing for the last year to 4 years. That makes sense.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair question. And I think you're right, because there have been plenty of players who stopped in, played Legions, and then when they realized that there weren't going to be Orcs or Necrons or Tyranids, they bailed out because they want 40K. I think that's a fair point, because this is a game for that. It's a game for players who are fans of 40K who want to play it. How elaborate should they have to make it? Should they my takeaway from that is, yes, I would like to see more, but really, I don't want to see a game that is literally, aside from the visuals, the same game as another game. If you give me 4 or 5 other things that I'll never get in something else, which lead to 10 to 15 other interactions, concepts, play styles, whatever, that I'll never get in the other thing, that gives me a reason to play both or play one more exclusively than the other. Whereas if you give me, here's the same game, you can play it 40K, you can play it Horus Heresy, then I'll say, well, I have Horus Heresy Legions, I have all the cards, I have fun playing that game up presently, and I have no interest starting the 4-year climb of playing and chasing cards all over again. So thank you for the effort, but good luck to those who want to play. I'm going to stick with Legions. And there will be, and to be fair, there's going to be players who do that anyways. I might be one of those players anyways. Maybe I'll fall off the demographic. I don't know. But it immediately out the gate makes that the choice, as opposed to me heavily considering spending a little bit of time on both before I decide, this new game's got a little bit too much going on, or I love Legions, but it's time to say goodbye. Instead of that, it really is out the gate. And that's what I don't want. And I think that's my big thing. There's nothing wrong with that for new players, because that's the choice that they have to make anyways, right? They come to the game 40K, that's what I came for. Why would I play Legions? Or if you presented both of them, then I can only pick one. They're going to pick the one that they feel most favorable to. But if you're making it for players who have played both or tested both, then you do have that choice where it's what's the point? Where's the upsell here? If there's no upsell, then the upsell is you can keep playing Legions and not have to worry about this, not have to worry about the newness, because guess what? It's the same stuff as what you're playing before.
Right. And I can understand that. You want to try to draw in a new demographic, but you also want to try to retain the old demographic. How do you balance that? I think.
Right. And that's a big thing, because not only how do you balance it, but how do you stop competing against yourself? Because when you're a card game company, when you're a digital card game company, when you're a video game company, ultimately, when you're putting out products, you don't want to compete against yourself. It's bad enough that you've got other competition. It's why you don't see several variations of Magic at different levels. What you see is Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro or whoever's making card games make different card games altogether for different age groups and demographics. You can argue that Commander is a different games play altogether, and that might be true, but ultimately those cards in Commander use standard Magic cards as well. So it's not like it's totally separate, right? But when you've got like somebody like Pokemon, there's no like Hasbro isn't making Pokemon, and then they're also making Pokemon Light or like the more friendly kid. It's like you play Pokemon or you don't play Pokemon. Like if you want to compete with us, then you go buy from Konami and you play Yu-Gi-Oh. Make the choice. We're not going to give you a different Pokemon game. That's what you're playing. Okay. Nintendo doesn't give you Zelda and then pick a Zelda game. Like pick a Zelda ripoff. What was it? Dark Cloud. It doesn't give you Dark Cloud because it's on PS2, right? The closest thing that Nintendo gives you as far as self-competition might be Pokemon Red and Blue. That's dating myself. But guess what? Yeah. It's the same game. The difference is your Pokemon choices, and then the whole point of Pokemon, half of it at the time, and I believe still today, was to trade with other players and collect them all. So it kind of makes sense. You only have to pick one. It doesn't really matter which one you pick.
But someone else at the school ground, we got the other one. Yeah,
but that was it. It wasn't like, oh man, we sold 50,000 Pokemon Silver and only 10,000 Pokemon Gold. It didn't matter. They sold 60,000 Pokemon because it was the same game. Mm-hmm. That's my point. Like self competition, I don't think EverGuild wants to do that. But when they set themselves up that way, there's a fine balance between designing it so that you are getting new customers in, keeping existing customers, and ideally, in the extra expense, keeping those ideal customers on both platforms to some degree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's important to do. It's why when you think of a sequel of a game, it's usually a sequel, not here's another of the same game, but different time.
Unless it's Madden. Fuck that. Listen.
Fucking hell.
Listen, let me get on a rant.
Sports games don't count. No, we don't need to talk about sports games.
An hour and 40 minutes in, you're probably going to rant on Madden 94 versus Madden 96. God damn it.
No, Scuff, we can't do this.
I think you'll find you can.
Like Street Fighter 2 versus Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Significantly different. Significantly different. You could argue it's just graphics, but if you haven't played them, you wouldn't know. Don't lie. Get out of here. Get out of here with your propositions, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't played Street Fighter Alpha 2 versus Street Fighter Alpha 3, then I ask you.
He spits on you.
Have you even tried?
No. I have no idea what you're on about.
But realistically, like that's exactly it. Like when you make a sequel, and WarpForge isn't a sequel, but it is absolutely a spiritual successor, then show me that. Show me that you were inspired by what you did with Legions, but then show me that you learned what worked and didn't work, and show me that you are using WarpForge to do what you didn't get to do in Legions.
And my fear in this situation, like a lot of online gaming, is when the new hotness comes out, the player, only the most dedicated players of the old game will stay, but then a very large portion of the player base just like drops the fuck off and just lose a bit in that exchange. And I'm a little worried about that, to be honest.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And that's something I think you can't turn a blind eye to. That's a real possibility. There's already people who are already looking forward to it and have said they're not playing Legions after this. Great. I mean, listen. Yeah. I play what you want, and there's that reality, and that's part of the dark side or sad side of the digital gaming experience, let alone a game that's hosted only on a server. When the game dies, it goes away. You don't get to take anything with it. You don't get a save file. We don't have any physical copies of these cards. It's gone. That'll be very sad. And if the game player base shrinks so much that EverGuild decides, like, we're going to support you for 2 more years and make X amount of expansions, but you know what? It's not working out. We're not making money. This is the end of the line. I believe Drakenlord's servers are still going, so I mean, if anything, at least the Legion servers will still be up and running. There may not be new content if we get to that point. It's a very real it's a very real possibility, and that is true, and that is something that would be, disappointing to a degree, because the migration will happen in some way, shape, or form. It'll happen.
It'll be unfortunate when it does. I don't know if I'll just jump to WarpForge because, well, as much as I like both 40k and 30k because they're both fun settings, WarpForge is really going to have to mix things up to not just be Legions 2 or Legions 1.5. That's all it's kind of looking at right now, and I don't like that.
That's what I said. Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, I don't. I know there are some who haven't said, and like I said, if you want to play 40k, WarpForge, and that's what you've looked into, good. That's going to be great. I think
if you're a Necron player and you only like Necrons, well, shit, you got Necrons now.
You're not going to be disappointed.
We hope.
Yeah. Maybe. Probably.
But going back to some comments on the game, there's some things I think which they have taken from HHL and they haven't considered, how did the changes affect this? So, for example, they've increased the board size from 6 troops to 8 troops. Mm-hmm. But they haven't really considered how does that work with all of everything. So, for example, the fact is that from what we see right now, board clear isn't that available. But they've also increased the number of troops that can go down.
Yeah, just on the same thing, whether board clear is available or not, the game moves faster currently. So what does having the ability to put down 2 extra troops matter? If you can still clear troops at the same pace or end the game faster before you can ever put down 8 troops. And if your argument right now is just the orc card that you put down 8 troops, then you miss the point of the argument because that's only played at 10 energy. I think now to be fair, I think that it's very possible that is a element designed for the Tyranids to thrive with, but we haven't seen that.
I hope Tyranids work like that.
Let's walk this a little bit further though, because what about deck outs? If you're going to have more troops on the field, and we're talking about a faster game, you're more likely to deck out with only 30 cards, which is what we see right now. So we probably want to see more troops, not only in the deck, but then consequently in hand. And if we continue with this trend of thought, why not increase the energy count as well? That would be another way to work around what they seem to really want to use, which is the fact that, we do have right now the ability cards.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think part of that is still fuel, even though the demo and the beta will primarily be on Steam PC before they're mobile, which is actually the reverse from what Legions was. Yeah. It's still going to be aimed to be a fast-paced game and played, and if we add more cards in the deck, then we should add more health to the Warlords. Why not have 60-card decks and 40 health or 80 health Warlords? Why not have, if we make it bigger, the game goes longer, and that drifts further away from, I think, their intent. Their intent is still going to be, let's have this be a fast game. So, where do you draw? Well, to what side? To the left or to the right? Because if it's too fast, you don't get to do all these cool things. You don't get to expand or tap into what you've opened up as a possibility. But if you move too slow, you're moving away from, the audience or the crowd base, or at the very least the EverGuild design mission of keeping the game going fast. I don't know, and I don't have the answer to that. I think that's the problem that they're facing with some of that. I don't disagree that I would like to see those elements expand on. 40 card decks, 45 card decks. Don't go 60 if you don't want to go too big. But at the same time, if you're going to give me more decks, then should we have more draw options? Should we have the ability to mill more? Are we doing the same mill thing? Can we have a better way to go about that? What if we built the game, and this is not going to happen because at this point this is just all speculative brain space, but something that they could have approached. Why have 30 card decks? Let's have 20 card decks. But instead of when you get to the bottom of your deck, you start taking damage. Let's ignore or let's get rid of the very concept of burnout altogether. And instead you incur either a penalty or you simply get the first card off of your discard pile, because we have a discard pile, back in your graveyard, and that's the card you draw. So you're always going through it. If you don't have anything in your graveyard, how? Number one. But number two, then I guess you don't draw anything. That would have made it new, kept it tighter, and at the same time would have kept the speed going. But we're not going to get that. Don't freak out. I don't think that's even anything at this point that they can consider. But
all we're doing is pure theory.
That's just an example of what I would have liked to see them think of, or maybe they did think of, and we just started just seeing like, were they like, you know what, 30 cards works, let's stick with it. It worked in Legions.
Now,
maybe when the game comes out, we could see, like, let's look at beta HHL. It's similar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, stuff is played the same, but we got so many new game mechanics and new features. It's basically a new game.
Well, and this is going to the whole, not talking about balance or the stats. Those things are going to get changed. If people who didn't play Legions on beta don't realize that Jubok was a 3-5. Meldon squads were 1-5s. I think they were 2-5s for like a day. Alpha Theta was a 4-4 that generated his Mechadendrites at the end of your turn. Like, there were so many cards that you take for granted as just being like, like, okay, it's an option or whatever, that were just like, if these hit the board, you cannot, like, good luck. I got a Meldon squad, so 1-5. All your warlords have 2 attack. Only a couple of them at the time had the ability to cause damage, unless they were Angron, which was a 3 attack base. Like, the scaling was so out of whack. It's taken some of those cards 2 to 4 years to get the scaling adjusted right. It's going to happen. Right. It's going to happen with WarpForge 2. That's a numbers thing. That's an adjustment thing.
Did you say Jubak was a 3-5?
That is correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I joined when he was a 2-5.
Yeah.
And that was scary.
Yeah. Wraith from the World Leaders, Wraith's Berserkers, was a 5-3. And the troops that he generated were 5-4s instead of 4-4s.
Look.
It was a different world.
It was a different world. And again, like, scaling, like, it took them several times to bring down the World Leaders. And the World Leaders are still what they do with Karn. But that's all they got left now. But the whole point is, like, that's what happens. Like, this is where we started. This is where we are at currently. You'll have that with WarpForge. Absolutely. You're going to have that with numbers. Numbers can be moved around and adjusted based off of what works. But if you're starting at a point where we already have the numbers where, like, what do they matter, or they're too close together, it's going to take longer or harder to figure that out. Why do we have every warlord to have a 2-2? Why does he have 2 melee, 2 ranged? Right out the gate, if we're gonna have those stats, let's make that matter. Let's have some warlords with 3 1s or 4 0s, or vice versa, 0 4s. So that way, like, that's his option. He's got, like, and you saw that a little bit with the commando, the flying commando, who could, give his ability. Like, why not? Hey, I've got flying and I've got 4 melee on my turn. That's awesome. I'm sure that'll get toned down, but, like, that was a concept that's like, why not just give that out the gate? But instead of him not just having flying and 4 attack, he has 0 range. So if you shoot at him, he doesn't do any damage back. Like, that would be a better way of showing we see the inherent concepts of our design, and we're making that more effective and more important. And again, it just kind of goes back to, like, I get 4. And you attack me and I still get 2 at the very least? Like, why wouldn't I play this card?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, we've discussed it a lot, but I feel like we're missing one very, 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 very important detail, Scuff. One close to your heart. How many deck slots should we get?
You know what?
Negative.
This is going to shock. This is going to shock everybody. And I've said this before a couple of times. I'm not going to care about deck slots for WarpForge. I don't give a fuck.
They're not Horus Heresy.
He's already said he's focusing on Legions.
That's it. I'm focused on Legions with the deck slots. Here's the thing, and this is a little bit of backdrop. For those who have not been along with me on the deck slot journey through the years, EverGuild made the mistake when they first added the very first row of deck slots with the addition of the Isstvan 5 expansion. And then once I saw that it was possible that they could do it, I said, we need it all the time. We need slots for every warlord, and that's why I took up the challenge of the cry. WarpForge is a different game altogether. There's more factions, arguably, out the gate. I mean, technically, we have neutrals, and we haven't even talked about the lack of neutrals. I'm kind of curious to see. I hope there's no neutrals, honestly, but that's just speculation. But the fact that we've got the different factions and the warlords, and, like, I'm not going to chase it down. I don't think we need all the deck slots. I'm sure there will be people who out there want them, and I think if you're playing it, maybe you'll appreciate them. If you appreciated deck slots in Legions, you're going to appreciate deck slots in WarpForge. I'm sure of it. It's just not the flag or the hill that I want to die on. at this point. Like at this, I'll fight the battle for legions, but you know what? Someone else is going to have to raise that in WarpForge. Somebody else is going to have to carry that banner.
Say they were your brother.
You know what? In 10,000 years, I'll be lost to the warp. Right, the heresy will have ended. What happened to that legend known as Scuffd carrying on for deck slots, and then somebody 10,000 years in the 41st millennia will carry on the fight in the same way that the Blood Angels, maybe their color patterns have changed a little bit. Maybe their mythos and they've got not just the Red Thirst, but they have that Black Rage. Where did that come from? So now there's somebody out there looking for deck slots, but they also have got a hankering for alt art or premium cards. I don't know. You know, like maybe that's their thing.
Or maybe they've forgotten the entire thing. And they're wondering, what is this lost tech?
What is this deck slot concept? This is something we can ask for? Who knows? It'll be lost to time. But yeah, as far as that goes, like for me personally, I'm not gonna worry about it. But if you enjoyed them in Legions, I'm sure you'll enjoy them again.
We'll have to see. And
we will see you.
As much as I hate that type of responses, we'll just have to wait and see.
That's it.
Yeah, at this point, that's all we can do.
Yeah. So it has been a long evening. I've heard what you guys had to say. I held my breath till I could hold my breath. The longest episodes were recorded. Possibly. And now, granted, to be fair, like half of that was a half hour of that was talking about good stuff before WarpForge, and riffing on Tarzan, the Infinite, and all that jazz. But well, guys, before we get going, is there anything you want to talk about before we get going? What do you do when you're not playing Legions? Anything you want to plug? Let's just lump it all together tonight.
The last couple of playlists, couple of turn-ups I've shilled for the Red Cross and other groups like them. So I think I'll do that again, specifically with humanitarian crises such as the starvation that's quite common right now in the Middle East or the East African area. There's the problems, of course, with political turmoil in Iran, and then it starts on the actual war that's going on in Ukraine. If you can donate, if you're in that fortunate position to find the local charity that interests you, it doesn't cross anything from the homeless shelter to food outreach centre to the International Doctors Union. Right now we're in that position where it looks like more and more is needed, and I just wanted to shout out for that.
How about you, Skitzo?
What would I do outside of Legions? Oh, you picked the most boring person, I swear to God. Honestly, I've just been trying to navigate my current life situation. Trying to have fun, take care of the responsibilities I need to do. I've also been catching up on a lot of like older video games that show up on Xbox Game Pass that I haven't had the chance to play because, money. So that's been fun. Other than that, spent a long time on, YouTube, watching things ranging from the silly stuff on Legions to the not so silly. I'm not sure I'd say I'm a big advocate, but I'm becoming more and more of a proponent for mental health awareness, since that is something I personally deal with a lot. And it's just, I feel it's a area in which, I guess, like, day-to-day, we just don't talk about enough. And we have this really weird separation between physical and mental health, when we really should be thinking about them in, like, the same vein. Yeah. But that's a whole different talk for a whole different kind of conversation.
Also depends on who you're talking to, because the first response training that we put some alarms through do separate them. Drastically.
And it's just, I feel it's something we need to like try to bring closer into the realm of, this is not taboo. It's not, oh my God, don't talk about this. Or people who suffer from mental health illnesses are like strange or weird or like dangerous. It's, I think, it's something that the more we talk about it, the more we normalize it, the less.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
They have a condition much like someone has a broken arm.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Go talk to a therapist, just for not for special reason. If you're having troubles or need to talk about something, try go see a therapist. Yes, I know they can be fucking expensive, but work within your insurance. There are some clinics that work on a sliding scale. If you don't have the means necessarily, it's not always as inaccessible as you might think it is. Mm-hmm. So I guess the takeaway would be, if you are dealing with something like that, depression, anxiety, just any sort of serious mental health problem, talk to somebody. Even if it's a friend, family member, but definitely try to find a professional if you can, and try to find the right one. I know it's very hard, but once you find the right therapist or psychiatrist, it makes a world of difference. I've been seeing the same therapist for like the last year. She's been amazing, and it has done me wonders. So, yeah, that's my little plug.
Well needed.
All right. How about you, Axel?
I've been up to not much. I got Thanksgiving coming up, so I've been doing a lot of like preparatory cooking.
I'm glad you didn't say you were up to no good in the neighborhood, because I was going to be like, listen.
Just the Bel Air. Just start singing the intro to Bel Air. No, still doing my D&D stuff. Got my 2 campaigns running side by side. Not Christmas. Halloween's coming up soon, and since one of the campaigns is more Halloween-y themed, I feel like a mashup between the 2 parties could work for a quick one-off.
Would it be a monster mashup?
Yeah, and by that I mean
Oh, you
gave me a good idea the other day when you mentioned Jason Voorhees in D&D, and I'm just going to steal that idea and use the Relentless Juggernaut stat line. And I don't know if you've seen this creature, but it is absurd. It is a CR12 who's kind of too strong for his own good. I'm going to have the players solve a murder mystery where they're fighting, basically Jason. So that should be fun.
Cool, that's fighting, or is that running?
No, they're going to have to kill this thing, or, 3 of the players are sworn monster hunters, so there's no running for them. And the other 4 will be pirates who have no real reason to be there, except they're promised money if they kill it. So
I was going to say, the other 4, if you don't have the other 4 be camp counselors, then, what's the point?
I can't directly rip it off, because several of them will call me out, but
Oceanside Camp or something. Percy
Jackson, I will have it just be a murder mystery that they're going to have to deal with, so that should be fun.
Are you going to,
and then I'll plug my board
in between, like when your players are just, like, thinking, you just be like,
I will regularly, I'm going to play, because we do it on Roll20.
You should, yes.
I'm going to play just the
You're like, wow.
Regularly while they fight.
What do we do? What is that noise? Why are you playing that? Like, don't take too long.
Man, I played ominous boss fight music the other day when they just fought like a normal enemy, and it was the funniest thing. They're like, why are you doing that? I'm like, it's funny.
I like opening up on Roll20 with the ominous music out the gate, and they're like, what is going on? I'm like, you guys are at the store.
Yeah, just waking you guys up.
Yeah, just
reminding you that shit can go down.
That's right. It's a positive. You don't know. Whatever. Well, you don't know me. In my Roll20.
Things can happen at any moment.
It's also the campaign with friends. We're on our 2nd session, and we left off last time right outside the warehouse where we're pretty sure someone kidnapped into. It's all dark as well outside, so I'm pretty sure the DM's going to wake us up with some weird music. When it's like, yeah, so you haven't moved since you last started.
That's where you ended. That's where you shall begin. Well, Dorn.
And DMs, remember.
Yeah, Dorn's he got the double plug last week.
He got the double plug. It was amazing. So I guess I got to plug him again.
All right. Well,
I'm going to plug my boy, Drew Lee Clark.
Really quick before we go, I am going to plug the epic 3rd annual Barroom Brawl Bash in October. How many of these Oktoberfest beers have I had? 2.
Sounds like a lot.
October 21st is the epic Barroom Brawl Bash. Barroom Brawl Brash. If you're listening to this, you got about a week and a half. All epic cards, all epic warlords, all epic cards. 2 different factions. Bar Knight Legions. We play for the Miodmeister title. Hop on, join us, won't you? It will be fun. And you know what? Because it's an epic bash, I might have some promo codes to give out. I have not yet been able to make time to give away the dozen of promo codes I think I've been sitting on for a while, and that really chafes me. So maybe some players who show up and play, maybe somebody who wins, maybe somebody does something stupid. I don't know. I can give more.
Maybe someone yells flank for 8 minutes.
That's
straight.
it. Yeah, it's right. If you fucking play defensive satellites, though, you're not getting promo codes. It's not going to happen. So make that choice.
Please.
Make that choice. But yeah, so that's going on October 21st. That's the only thing I really got to plug besides deck slots, which we already talked about at length. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, if you have stuck around for this long, thank you. I appreciate it. Hopefully our discussion and our points and our rantings and our thoughts were interesting to you. Hopefully you had counterpoints or thoughts in your own. If you got them, send them out there. Put up the comments wherever you are, whatever you're listening to on a podcast application or on YouTube. I appreciate hearing the feedback from the people that we've been getting feedback from every so often, and it's been really nice to know that that there's an audience still out there. I think we've got about 200 or so listens per episode, which is always nice. It's important, because if we were only getting 20 people, I don't think we would have done this for a year and a half, almost 2 years now. Yeah, glad to know that people are listening. And again, I appreciate everybody's time. And I know that listening to podcasts isn't something that everybody does. But if you stuck through it, hopefully you were entertained. Hopefully you won't go calling Trays and Tarzan. Hopefully you have some ideas of your own with WarpForge. And you know what? Are you going to play the game? Are you going to play WarpForge? Have you played the demo? Or are you going to stick with Legions? Or are you going to do both? Let us know. I don't know if we'll be talking about this again when beta drops. It's a possibility, but we need to get it out here today. We need to make this an episode worth listening to. Yeah, I think if beta was like, whoa, this isn't anything like the demo, I think that's a fair discussion to have. If it's like the demo, we'll probably have like a 5-minute, WarpForge is just like the demo, so moving on. And I hope that's not the case. I really don't. Like I've said before, my criticisms are constructive. I really do want to see it to succeed. And maybe my standards are higher based off of just my own perspective and what I want from a card game. Maybe that's not the same as everybody else. I don't know.
It's not like we're preying on Legion's downfall or anything.
No. I mean, I don't want Legions to go away, but at the same time, I recognize the mortality of the game and the date on it, but I certainly do enjoy the game that I've got, and if I'm going to play a new game, I want it to be a new game. I want it to be new.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with that end, it's been a long time. It's been a long night. I appreciate you guys for making your time. I know, Lucarionape, I know you're on the European timestamp, so hopefully you have a great breakfast.
That is me.
Another 2 hours for that.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thanks, guys, for joining us. And, I think next week, if I recall correctly, we are going to be talking with some folks about the trainee and mentor system. Get just a general discussion, some tips, some ideas, some thoughts on it. How has that worked out for people who've been
how to best farm the new players?
Yeah. How has it worked out being a mentor and as trainees? How has that worked out? We're going to talk with both, not just mentors, but trainees who have graduated and what their experiences was like, what they'd like to have been. I think we can get at least a good 40 minutes out of it, but you know what? If we talk about a half hour about anything else but that, then we can actually turn it into like a 2-hour episode again. So let's do that.
Could be fun.
All right, that's it. Bye.
The sunlight dims.
This has been another episode of the Warp Chatter Podcast. Thank you for listening.
Eternal loyalty!
Burn it! Burn it all! Well executed.